In the scorched heart of the Oklahoma Panhandle, where the wind howled like a lonesome wolf and the earth cracked open like a parched prayer, young Eli Hawthorne knelt beside his father's weathered grave. It was the summer of 1932, the height of the Dust Bowl's merciless grip, and Eli was just 16, his frame as slight as a willow switch, his eyes the color of storm clouds over endless prairie. The preacher's son, they called him, Reverend Josiah Hawthorne's boy, heir to sermons that promised salvation in a world choking on its own despair. But on this blistering July morning, with the sun clawing its way over the horizon like a thief in the night, Eli wasn't preaching. He was digging. Not for gold or water, but for roots, literal ones, from the skeletal remains of a cottonwood tree his pa had planted the year before the storms came. The hook that snagged Eli's soul wasn't the shovel's bite into the unyielding soil, nor the dust that painted his cheeks with gritty tears. It was the whisper of his father's last words, spoken in a fevered rasp just weeks prior, "Boy, the world's full of wolves in sheep's clothing. But you're the lamb that leads 'em home." Eli paused, sweat stinging his eyes, and glanced at the makeshift cross of mesquite wood he'd hammered into the ground. Pa was gone now, taken by the pneumonia that rode in on the black blizzards, leaving Eli alone with Ma and the three younger ones in a sod house that groaned like an old man's bones. The bank had come calling again yesterday, their suits as starched as their threats, demanding the mortgage on the farm that wasn't a farm anymore, just miles of blowing sand and broken dreams. Eli wiped his brow with a sleeve already threadbare, his mind wandering to the flock of parishioners who dwindled to a handful. Kindness, Pa had always said, was the currency of heaven, even when pocketbooks ran dry. Eli believed it, deep in his innocent core, the way a child believes in rain after drought. He'd given his last nickel to old widow Jenkins last Sunday, watching her arthritic hands tremble as she clutched it like a lifeline. Selflessness wasn't a choice for Eli, it was breath, it was prayer. But as the shovel struck something hard, a buried tin box, Pa's secret stash perhaps, a shadow fell across the grave, long and hulking, like the devil himself had decided to crash the eulogy. "What ya diggin' for, preacher's pup? Buried treasure in this godforsaken dirt?" The voice was gravel and thunder, booming from a chest broad as a barn door. Eli startled, dropping the shovel, his heart pounding like a revival drum. Towering over him was a man who looked carved from the red cliffs of the Palo Duro Canyon, 6'5" if he was an inch, with arms like knotted ropes and a face weathered by suns hotter than hellfire. His Stetson sat low, shadowing eyes that burned with a feral gleam, and a revolver hung low on his hip, the kind that whispered of outlaws and unfinished business. This was Buck, the Bull, Ramsey, the massive cowboy whose legend stretched from Texas line shacks to Kansas railheads. Folks said he'd rustled more cattle than the devil had souls, broken more broncos than a man ought to in 3 lifetimes, and left a trail of broken hearts and barroom brawls from here to the Rio Grande. But Eli, innocent as fresh milk, saw only a stranger in need of a kind word. "Mornin', sir," Eli stammered, scrambling to his feet, brushing dirt from his overalls. "Just, tend in, to Pa's tree. The dust took it, but I reckon roots run deep." He extended a hand, calloused from chores but gentle, the hand of a boy who'd mended more fences with words than wire. Buck eyed the proffered palm like it was a rattlesnake, then barked a laugh that echoed off the empty fields. "Roots? Boy, this land's got nothin' left but ghosts and grudges. Your pa preached to him too." He didn't take the hand, but he didn't spit tobacco at Eli's boots either, a small mercy in Buck's world. Instead, he squatted down, massive frame folding like a pocket knife, and peered into the hole. "What's in the box?" Eli hesitated, the weight of secrets pressing on his chest. Pa had whispered of it once, a collection of letters, deeds, maybe even a few silver dollars scraped from tithes. "Family things," he said softly. "Memories, mostly." As he pried the tin free, rust flaking like old skin, a gust whipped up, carrying the faint scent of sage and sorrow. Inside lay yellowed envelopes tied with twine, a tarnished pocket watch stopped at 3:17, the hour Pa had drawn his last breath, and a single photograph, the Hawthorne family, whole and smiling, before the bull swallowed them piecemeal. Buck's gaze softened, just a flicker, like sunlight piercing storm clouds. Memories, huh? Mine are all bullet holes and bad bets. He stood abruptly, as if the vulnerability burned him, and tipped his hat. Well, don't let the wolves getcha, kid. This ain't no place for lambs. With that, he turned toward his sorrel gelding tethered to a fence post, the horse snorting steam in the dawn chill. But Eli, ever the preacher's son, couldn't let a soul wander without a seed of hope. Wait, mister. Eli called, clutching the box to his chest. You look like you've ridden far. Ma's got coffee on the stove, weak as dishwater, but it's hot. And kindness don't cost a dime. It was a simple offer, born of that selfless spark Pa had fanned in him, the belief that humanity's power lay in sharing what little you had, even when the bull emptied your soul. Buck paused, his massive shoulders tensing under a duster patched with barbed wire scars. He turned slowly, those hawk eyes narrowing. Kindness? From a slip of a boy to a brute like me? You got rocks in that head, preacher's pup. A pause, heavy as dust settling. Then, unexpectedly, he swung back into the saddle, not riding away, but nodding toward the sod house a quarter-mile off, its chimney puffing defiant smoke. Lead on, then. But if your ma's brew tastes like regret, I'm blamin' you. As they trudged across the furrowed earth, Eli chattering about Pa's sermons on the prodigal son, Buck grunted responses, his boots carving deep prints like accusations. The boy didn't notice the way the cowboy's hand hovered near his gun, nor the fresh bruise blooming purple on his knuckles, a remnant of a saloon scuffle 2 towns over. Eli saw only a traveler, weary and worthy of welcome. Inside the house, Lillian Hawthorne, her hair streaked gray at 38, her hands raw from scrubbing hope from laundry, froze at the sight of the giant filling her doorway. The littles, 10-year-old Ruth with her braids like wheat shocks, 8-year-old Tommy with his gap-toothed grin, and baby Sarah, for and fearless, peeked from behind the curtain of flour sacks that served as a pantry. "Mornin', ma'am," Buck rumbled, doffing his hat to reveal a scalp scarred from some long-ago stampede. "Your boy's playin' host. Hope you got room for trouble." Lillian's eyes, sharp as a switchblade from years of widow's vigilance, flicked to Eli's earnest face. She knew the risks, whispers of Buck's past, tales of a posse in Abilene swearing vengeance for a bank job gone bloody. But in Eli's gaze, she saw Josiah's echo, the unshakable faith that every stranger was a son of God in disguise. "Plenty of room," she said, voice steady as scripture. "And coffee for the asking." They settled at the scarred oak table, the only heirloom from Pa's side, and as mugs steamed with chicory-laced brew, Eli unpacked the tin box like a storyteller unveiling a fable. The letters were from Pa's seminary days, pleas for mercy from sharecroppers, notes of thanks from souls saved by a hot meal more than a hymn. The watch ticked once, faintly, as if stirring from slumber, and the photo drew a rare smile from Buck, who traced a finger over the image of little Eli, chubby-cheeked and clutching a Bible. "Look at you," Buck muttered, a chuckle rumbling low. "All spit and salvation. What happened to that fire?" Eli blushed, stirring his coffee with a spoon bent from too many prayers. "Still burnin', I reckon. Pa said the world's cruel, but folks ain't. We just gotta remind 'em." It was a universal truth, one that bridged dust-choked Oklahoma to the steel mills of Pittsburgh or the cotton fields of Mississippi, kindness as rebellion against despair, selflessness as the glue holding fractured humanity together. But Buck's laugh turned bitter, like bile on the tongue. "Remind 'em? Boy, I've seen the wolf's teeth up close. Rode with men who'd sell their mothers for a shot of whiskey. Your pa's words are pretty, but they don't stop a bullet." He pushed back from the table, chair scraping like a confession, and Eli caught it then, the limp, subtle but telling, from a leg mended wrong after a fall from a canyon rim. The cowboy's bravado cracked, just a hair, revealing the man beneath, not monster, but mortal, haunted by choices that echoed like thunder in empty canyons. As Buck rose to leave, promising nothing but a nod of thanks, an unexpected turn unfurled like a dust. The weeks that followed etched themselves into Eli Hawthorne's soul like brands on a bronco's hide, searing, permanent, a testament to the raw power of unyielding kindness. Enid's standoff had rippled outward, whispers of the preacher's pup and the bull, carrying on winds that spared no one. Folks who'd packed their Model Ts for California paused at crossroads, hearing tales of a sod house where a massive cowboy mended more than fences. Eli, still 16 and slender as a reed, found himself at the center, his innocence not dimmed but deepened, a well from which selflessness drew endlessly. Buck Ramsey, the outlaw-turned-unlikely uncle, watched him with eyes that no longer hunted, but marveled. One crisp October dawn, as frost silvered the stubble fields like God's own lace, an unexpected turn galloped in on a lathered bay. It was Jem's ghost, or so Buck thought at first, a wiry rider with the same crooked grin and dust-caked chaps, hailing from the Texas spreads Buck had fled a decade prior. Brother, the man called Zeke, Jem's shadow in life and now his emissary in lore, words out. You're going straight. Ma's dyin' to know if hell froze over. Buck stiffened by the corral, hammer mid-swing on a gate hinge, while Eli forked hay nearby, his pitch trembling. The littles froze mid-chase, Ruth clutching her corncob doll like a shield. Ma appeared in the doorway, apron dusted with flour, her face a map of cautious hope. Zeke dismounted, clapping Buck's shoulders with hands that bore the same rope scars, but his eyes, sharp as crows' beaks, flicked to Eli. This the pup? Heard he tamed you with Bible verses and beans. Eli blushed, extending a hand. Elias Hawthorne, sir. Pa was Reverend Josiah. We don't tame, we welcome. It was the Hawthorne creed, universally engaging in its simplicity, humanity as harbor, not hunt. Zeke's laugh was wine through wire. Welcome, huh? Well, welcome to trouble. The old crew's reformin', not for rustlin', but relief. Dust's pushin' folks west like cattle to market. We're haulin' supplies from Amarillo, but the rail barons are chargin' blood for freight. Need muscle, and maybe a miracle boy. Buck's jaw tightened, old instincts warring with new light. Ain't my fight no more, Zeke. I'm plantin' roots here. But Eli saw the crack, the flicker of purpose in the cowboy's stance, the pull of brotherhood beyond blood. That night, around the fire pit where embers popped like revelations, the story unfolded. Zeke spun yarns of the old days, Buck and Jem, inseparable, driving herds under stars vast as promises, until a blizzard claimed Jem, leaving Buck to drown guilt in whiskey and warrants. He saved me once, Zeke said, poking the flames. Pulled me from a stampede. Now it's my turn. Eli listened, the flames gilding his face, profound realization stirring. Redemption wasn't solitary, it was a rodeo, raw and roping souls together. Go, Eli urged Buck softly, as Zeke snored in the barn. Use what Pa called your raw strength for good. I'll hold the fort. It was selflessness incarnate, a boy offering freedom to the man who'd become family. Buck searched Eli's eyes, that innocent blaze undimmed. You're innocent, pup, but I'll use you raw. Come with. Your words, they're the glue. And so, under a moon fat as forgiveness, they rode out, Buck and Eli, Zeke trailing, three shadows against the night. Ma's blessing followed, bring back hope, boys. It's lighter than dust. The journey south was a gauntlet of grit, arroyos choked with tumbleweeds, ghost farms where windmills spun futile prayers. They camped in hollows, sharing jerky and journals, Eli reading Pa's letters on unity, Buck grunting tales of Mustangs broken not with spurs, but trust. An unexpected turn struck at the Red River ford, waters swollen by upstream rains, churning like wrath unleashed. A wagon train bogged there, Okies and Arkies, faces gaunt as carved bone, their rigs laden with heirlooms and hollow dreams. Lead wagon, the Thompsons, a clan of 7, Pa a preacher like Josiah, Ma clutching twins while older girls pushed with poles slipping in mud. Stuck. Preacher Thompson bellowed, voice cracking. Lord's testin' us sore. Buck spurred forward, assessing with a cattleman's eye. Too deep for mules. We'll rope 'em out. But Zeke shook his head. Currents'll drag horse and rider. One wrong pull. Eli dismounted, sloshing into the froth, his slight form vanishing to the waist. Then we pray and push. He waded to the Thompsons, taking a line from Ma's hands, his hymn rising above the roar. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. The family joined, ragged voices weaving harmony, and slowly, impossibly, the wagon inched free, humanity's muscle, not might. Buck watched, lasso slack, as Eli turned, soaked and shining. See. Kindness parts waters. Zeke chuckled, but Buck's nod was solemn. Raw as river rock, boy. Amarillo greeted them with neon lies, stockyards steaming, saloons spilling sin, but the relief camp was a miracle amid muck, tents pitched by do-gooders from the Red Cross, crates of canned milk and mealy flour. Zeke introduced the rail boss, a bulldog named Harlan with a cigar stub and scowl. Freights tripled, Ramsey. Times are tight, charity's a chump's game. Buck leaned in, massive frame casting shade. Tight for you, fat for us. We got hands willin' to load free, migrants need work, not welfare. Harlan scoffed, but Eli stepped up, voice clear as chapel bells. Sir, my pa said generosity's the seed of plenty. These folks, they're America, same as you. Gimme a chance to show. Harlan eyed the boy, then barked a laugh. Preacher's whelp. Fine. Dawn load out. Fail, and you're payin' double. The dawn was chaos, hundreds converging, hollow-cheeked men in patched denims, women with babes at breast, children wide-eyed as fawns. Buck organized like a general, his bellows directing lines, while Zeke tallied crates. Eli, raw nerve and relentless heart, darted among them, sharing water from his canteen, mending a boy's scraped knee with a story of David's sling. Small stones fell giants, he whispered, and the child grinned, fear fleeing. But the turn twisted sharp, a crate slipped from a stevedore's grip, tumbling toward a cluster of toddlers playing in the dust. Time slowed, screams piercing, dust billowing, until Eli lunged, shoving the little ones clear, the crate glancing his shoulder with a crack like judgment. Pain bloomed white-hot, arm hanging limp, but Eli waved off concern, staggering to his feet. They're safe. That's plenty. Harlan witnessed, cigar dropping ash. Kid, you just saved my loader's kin. Hell, the whole damn train. Gratitude cracked his shell, by noon, freight waved, cars loaded gratis. Cheers erupted, a roar of reclaimed humanity, strangers clasping hands, tears mixing with sweat. Buck knelt by Eli, binding the bruise with his bandana. Innocent fool, he murmured, voice thick. Used you raw, and look what you forged. Word flew north like geese in V, drawing more to the Hawthorne stead. The farm, once a whisper, became a way station, wagons circling the sod house, fires dotting the dark with communal light. Myra's boys chased Tommy's coonskin cap, Ruth taught Zeke's crude whittling to wide-eyed migrants. Ma's kitchen overflowed, cornbread and kindness multiplying loaves and fishes. Eli, sling-bound but unbowed, preached not from pulpits but porches, sermons on the power of shared burdens, relatable as a neighbor's nod. Yet the bull's fury peaked, a black blizzard roaring in November's jaws, blotting sun to midnight. Families hunkered, the world reduced to coughs and candle glow. Buck, ever the sentinel, patrolled perimeters, his silhouette a bulwark. One gale-lashed night, as shutters rattled like bones, a knock, frantic, frail. It was Preacher Thompson, wagon splintered by wind, his clan shivering on the stoop. Lost the ford again, he gasped. Eli, your grace. Inside, the house swelled, bodies packed tight, stories spilling like oil from cracked earth. Thompson clasped Eli's good hand. You're Josiah's echo, boy. But deeper, raw faith, unpolished as gold from creek bed. As the storm howled, Buck drew Eli aside, firelight carving canyons in